So, I really enjoy making chat sprites. They are pixel-perfect things that you can just edit in MS Paint to combine different facial expressions and work together like that. But I've already done them for most of my characters, so whenever I see somebody on my dashboard happens to have an event like a birthday, happy birthday, I start drawing one of these. So this is Vriska Circuit of Homestuck. Here we are in the sketch stage, and I can't seem to get the head size right, but the entire sketch is getting removed eventually anyway, so it doesn't matter if we resize things a little. I had a lot of problems figuring out the right background color, so you'll see a couple of different versions of that. I'm not sure I'm happy with how the hair came out, but it is what it is. Now we're moving on to the coloring step. I've put the line art on a transparent layer above my background, and I'm just drawing in with a non-anti-aliased brush. I do really like the shirt. I tend to draw these at a much higher size than I plan on them ending up being. I drew this at around twice the size of the final result. Then when I resize it, I just make sure that it doesn't, it picks a color rather than averaging any colors together. The little dart on the waistline that's coming right about here. I really like how that turned out. Drawing something big and then resizing it makes it a lot easier to get all of the fiddly little details right. The way I can tell I've done a good job is if, when I flicker the line art on and off like that, it looks the same. So that means I've managed to capture most of the details in the cel-shaded version. Cel shading has always been really, really hard. And I think the mistake I made here with the hair is I outlined it in a darker color. I didn't go through and do all of the shading manually. That weird little cup horn is the hardest thing in the world to draw. Here I'm recoloring the hair from blue back into an actual color scheme that makes sense. It started off blue to stop interesting color conflicts with the shirt. The blue area in the feature guide is the horrific scarring on the entire side of her face. That was interesting to draw. Here you can see me changing my mind about where all of the highlights go. Should have started at the darkest color and then gradually added highlights. Or reshaped the hair entirely, but whichever. Giving the highlights more of a ragged edge so it actually looks like hair instead of a helmet. And erasing a lot of the outlines. adjusting the neck shadows. It was not quite right. I'm getting much better at figuring out the shading one half of the face in thing so that it makes the features look right. I also stole the little highlight on the nose from a version that a friend of mine did, so thank you, Diggy. The scars were base coat of medium blue, then I put highlights on, then I went in and shaded in a darker color. And then I erased some bits around the edges so that the cheek profile would be ragged, as with a real scar. I erased only the medium blue backdrop, not the highlights or shadows. Here I am setting up extra copies of the face because I'm about to draw the glasses on, and that'll cover up the entire scar. But the scar will be there if she ever wants to do a version with the glasses off. Easy to copy and paste. If you've never tried to draw glasses, it's hard to realize just how hard it is to get a weirdly shaped oblong right, twice, parallel, at an angle. Background color number 1, it doesn't last. I end up going with something pretty close to this. This one ends up conflicting with the lip color. The feature guide has reached its final form. Her facial features have a palette of exactly 5 colors, and I'm pretty proud of getting it down to that few. This part is the easiest part of making one of these things. Just doodling little faces. After you've got the base figured out. I should probably draw like 10 or 20 faces instead of just 5, but this is always when I'm starting to get a little fatigued. And that is that. But since I'm pretty proud of how the facial shading turned out, and the scar particularly, I thought I'd go back and show that part a little bit slower. So here that is. Kind of amazed that I got the entire shape of that shadow right in one try. Because it includes the nose, the shadow under the nose, the slight curve outwards for the lips, the little bit of a curve outwards for the chin, and then the little shadow underneath the jaw, or right at the edge of the chin. I think I'm going to use that highlight thing on all future pictures. It adds a lot to the nose. Here we are about to start on the scar area. So I took the shadow color and I made a version of it that was slightly saturated in blue. And that's going to be our base color. Next I made one that was a little bit lighter and a little bit less saturated in blue, but still more than the base grays are. Here I am selecting it. And now I start drawing the all of the scar lines. These are the raised areas. You can tell that I have only the blue area selected, so I can't draw outside that zone. I actually use that as a trick, because now I've got only the blue area selected, so I can't draw on my highlights, and I'm using a darker color to shade right next to the bright zones. Now I've selected the bright zones, and I'm shading in with the darker color, without going on top of the blue zones at all. This lets me pretend that my brush is much smaller than it actually is, since I can go right over the edge without worrying about it. And now the key part that makes it look really fugly. Erasing bits of the blue background area so that the cheek profile is really crumbly. And that's the scars. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good day.